Wonderful. Okay, this one should be quick today. Oh, that's bright. Um, so we're gonna pick up basically where we were last class, and all we're gonna do is build this page. Uh, last time, not windsurf, I want VS Code. So just to jog everyone's memory, last time last time meaning Tuesday, we played with my open live servers cooking up. One sec. But we played with CSS for the first time. And we made not a nice website, but just a page that kind of shows that we can go from like having rectangles to actually being able to style as we want. And today should be the first time that we actually make something look good. Um, yeah. So what I'm gonna do is drop the HTML for this website in the Slack, and if you want to follow along, feel free. I actually would like to give everyone like 10 minutes and essentially just put this here and have the HTML given to you guys, and then we'll see if we can like style it in a way that looks somewhat close just by like a little intuition and Googling and like the Copilot AI. And then I'll walk through it after, and it should be like a quick 30-minute class, and we'll get you out early on a Thursday. Um, with that, I'm gonna pull up Slack and I'm gonna send all of the materials out. Uh, if you guys can all make a folder and just call it something like Hoya Airlines, and then open it in VS Code, you're gonna be putting like that globe picture in it and like the plane. So just getting a good starting place, and then like if you want to make an index.html, that'll also be helpful. So let's do that. So the index.html is in the chat, and then let's see. I'm gonna drop both of those. Wonderful.
Can you drag down to VS Code?
You should be able to. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like you can. Of anything, you can just you can see you can like hover over the cloud and download it and then eventually get it in there. And I can flash real quick. This is like the CSS that does everything. It's 50 lines. It's not like super complex. Um, while you guys are getting set up, I can quickly go back over kind of like how to think about this. Um, the HTML, so I will zoom in. The HTML has, let's see, this main content div. where my cursor's at on line 15, which is kind of like everything that's in the center here. So like the big purple box. And as you guys can see, that is, let's, it is both horizontally and vertically uh centered. And to jog everyone's memory, oh, that was horrible. To jog everyone's memory, the CSS attribute, which when I say attribute, that's a word that kind of doesn't make any sense. So basically, this is what we did on Tuesday. CSS is, just to jog everyone's memory, a selector. So you use a period when you're doing a class. Um, it's a selector, some name of the class that you're looking at, or if it's an ID, it's a hashtag in the class, or if it's a tag itself, it would just be the tag. And then you open the curly brackets, close the curly brackets. And for flex, which is like the main thing that we use to position things with CSS, you're gonna do display flex, and then you can choose a direction of all the elements. There's either row or column. Justify content is horizontal. Um, so if you were to justify content center, then whatever it is, the div that you're selecting, it will sit horizontally in the center. The vertical, like the vertical height will not be changed yet. And to change the vertical height, you'd use align items. Um, so I'll give you a quick hint. The, I mean, my guess would be the main content class, uh, because it is both like vertically and horizontally centered. It should probably be display flex, have a justify contents in of the center, and then align items should also be center. Um, but I think the HTML itself is pretty ugly, right? Let's see. And also don't pay any attention to the like the pre-connect font stuff. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, it is pretty ugly. Nice. So I'll put it back up what we're shooting for. And then I'll actually put the cheat up. Um, so just to recap quickly, the stuff in purple are divs. Um, the where to and the go div, or sorry, yeah, the div with the where to and the go, those things should be like in a row. So that could be a flex direction with a display flex. Um, Everything else, if you center it, should work in the main content div. And then from that, it's going to be a little styling. Damn, this is a bad eraser. And I forgot to mention earlier, at least with the HTML that I gave you, we're linking to a file named index.css. So we would make the first step here would be in the same folder to make another file and call it index.css. You should also have the earth and the plane PNG. If for some reason you change them, just make sure that the source for both of the images lines up with whatever you end up calling them. And I also dropped the picture in the chat too, just so that you don't have to rely on me. I'm curious if y'all are welcome to being like very open. Who's like killing it and this is way too easy, and also like who is completely clueless. Cool. In the middle. Nice. Um, I'll let y'all cook for like another minute and then we can basically just walk through together. Um, to one more time, just make sure everybody got set up correctly in the Slack, which is everybody in the Slack? Sick. Uh, you have the index.html code. Um, basically just in a folder that you're gonna open in VS Code. I'd make a folder. It's easy to name it Hoya Airlines just because that's kind of like what this fake scenario is called, their fake website. Uh, within the Hoya Airlines folder, just make sure you have the two images that I dropped, and also make a file named index.html. And then you're going to make an index.css, which will start off blank, and you'll eventually start to fill it. And we'll go over what that might look like. There's like 100 different ways to do any CSS code.
So are we supposed to make our own index.csv?
Yeah, the goal of this exercise is kind of to try and turn the HTML. Oh, I uncommented it out. One sec. It's to go from this to this without the boxes to this. Um, and
My original thing, the image isn't loading. The images aren't, wait, oh, wait. Oh, it's because they have different names. So,
yeah, probably. You also want them to be in the exact same folder
yeah,
where the
yeah,
path
yeah.
might be different.
No, it's the name that will go.
Gotcha. Oh, when you download from Slack, does it change the name?
Um, the name of Slack is when I download from Slack, it downloads image.png.
Oh, yes. Okay, then yeah, we want to make sure
Oh, wait, that's the,
we make them
oh,
earth
wait,
and plane.
hold on. I think I downloaded the wrong image.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I downloaded your screenshot of the website.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
That would do it.
You have a question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have help with this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me take a look.
I've got it, but I tried to center it both ways, but then when I launch it, it's just centered there, but so.
Yeah, so this is because I will. I actually want to take a look at that. The goal of this is kind of we're gonna make it together and it's gonna get like fucked and then we're gonna see why and fix it. Um, so I'll start. Let's see. This is gonna be like the final one. And I'll turn that into index.css. So did you start with selecting the main content? And what do you have? Display flex.
I have, and then I also added a font, and then I have flex direction, justify content, align items.
Sick. What font?
I just did sans serif because I didn't know it was.
Sounds good. Oh, I spelled display bad. Did you justify content as well?
Yeah.
Sick. So when we do that, mine doesn't even pick it up. Let's see. I think I'm not selecting the right one. Main content and
So it's really doing something.
true. Let me pause the music. All right. Margin 0, padding 0. Cool.
Wait, what do we want our final result to look like?
It is it's this, but it's also the
Should be that. Should it be saying search for a destination with the type box instead of the drop down box?
Is that what I gave you in the HTML? Yeah, that's fine. Does it have a button and also yeah, that's fine. Uh
It's like stacking the container like on top of their image. Like that's why it's not centering vertically.
stacking the
Like,
container
out
on top of you.
the bottom line of it is like right where the earth image ends.
So I'm curious, how did you style the Earth class?
How do you start with the first one?
So yeah, that's gonna be so this is like this was supposed to be a little difficult, but everyone was supposed to get started with like the main one. Essentially, the Earth class, we'll take a look at getting it behind it is called like the Z index. Essentially every website that you see, the way it's rendered is it's kind of like something is like slapped on the screen and then another layer is slapped on top of it and another layer is slapped on top of it. And you can kind of imagine that as almost like a 3D sense. Um, so that would be like there's the X and the Y plane. Um, so if we were to do this like a math class or something like that, there's the X and the Y, and then there's also, oh my God, did it wrong. There's also going to be the Z, and the Z index is essentially just like how far back something is. Um, or it's like if you ever use Photoshop or Figma, it's kind of like if you make the Z index for something like negative, it's like sending it to the back. Um, so the way that we achieve the Earth in this case is we're going to, and I can just make the Earth class. Um, and we'll come back to this guy, but I'll make the Earth class with you guys. Essentially, what we want to do is the Earth here, it takes up like roughly half of the screen. Like it doesn't have to be perfectly like this, but we'll say it's like 45, maybe 50%. I think there's 50 in this demo. But we can say 40%. Um, and for images, uh, I don't think we went over this, so you would have had to like look it up, but essentially you can kind of keep something where you want it if you make the position absolute. We've been talking a lot about like the display flex. Another way that you can kind of change where something is on the page is you can like use the position attribute and you can say it's gonna be absolute, so it won't move. That's kind of like hard sticking it to some place. And when we use position absolute, what we can then do is specify, um, if you think about like, uh, we'll say a website, which is like a square or rectangle. If you want to specify where something is, you could specify in like all four directions where it is, or we could think about it like a graph again. Um, where all we have to really do to tell you where a point is, or like the bottom left corner of an image. Uh, so let's say like the image is supposed to be here. And that's gonna represent like this square or the earth in this case. I'll just like draw a little bit. In order to tell our like website where that should be, all we have to do in this CSS is actually just give it um a like a bottom, which is kind of like the Y, and then a left, which is like the X. And because we want it to be in the bottom left corner, we should be able to just specify the bottom, um, which is something, again, you can only do the bottom and the left, and you could also do right and top. Um, and say how many pixels away it is from the bottom of the screen or the left of the screen. You can only do that if you have position absolute. You can't do that if you have like display flex. Um, and then because it's behind everything, we're gonna do Z index, -1. You could do like -1,000,000, which is it's probably not the best habit, but that's kind of something that I do a lot just to make sure something really is at the back. So I'm gonna do like -10,000. But -1 is probably fine. And we'll just take a look at what it looks like now. So what do we see? The globe kind of looks good. This is, I think, what we are going for now. See, the Earth picture is fine. Uh, and what did we learn from this? There's another way to style things, specifically images. You can use the position with an absolute value. Let's see what else position can be. Um, there's so many CSS attributes. It's like super annoying to try and memorize them all. Oh, relative is also going to be one. Okay, cool. Something to look at, which can be helpful just when using CSS and thinking about even like what attributes to use, is if you do control space, uh, autocomplete will show up and it will kind of just display a bunch of them. And if you want to do something like once you have uh a attribute, you could also autocomplete for possible values with the same control space. On a Mac, I'm assuming it's command space, or it might also just be control space. But you'll see you'll just get a ton of options. This is useful if you don't remember, like, I don't know, if we do like display, flex, if you don't remember all of the types of justify content values, um, let's see if that'll work nicely or not. Yeah. So within justify content, like it'll pull up and you can like autocomplete all of the values. Control space for Windows. And if it doesn't come up, let me know. I hope it's not an extension that I have. I think that's vanilla VS Code. Sweet. Super useful. And then I'll also turn everyone's attention to, I think it's like Mozilla. Um, makes the docs. Oh no, I'm down. So yeah. If you just look up CSS docs, I think Mozilla's like the developer of it. That might not be right. I'm sure tons of people have docs. But you can like look through, there's a ton of properties. Um, you can also look through like all the ways of selecting stuff. Uh, Believe it or not, like HTML and CSS and whatnot have like versions and are constantly updated. Not constantly. Um, but it's like all web browsers, so like Chrome kind of have to support like the newest version of HTML and CSS every so often. So the docs are like kept up to date and like updated. So like that's kind of like the textbook in a class where it's like you would just go there if you want to see like every single thing that you can possibly do. Um, but let's go back to uh our thing here. What else do we want to do? Um, so yeah. So images are kind of one of the things that are like they never come out of the box like well. Because if you screenshotted it, it's gonna be whatever width that you screenshotted, and like most of the time you're gonna want to like shrink or expand or do something with an image, and it's not gonna look like how it comes when you just put it in with HTML. Um, One of the things you can change about an image is you can assign a width. With the Earth image, because it was just roughly half of the page, I made it 40%. Um, we can uh also just set the width with pixels. So on Tuesday we went over like you can like the units for websites are pixels are like very absolute, but you can also do percentages or like there's units like REM, which I think are based off of the like font size. So it's still pretty relative, but um that's like based off of something, not just a percent. So we'll do the plane uh or the image within um main content. So what you guys can see here is if we touch so we start by selecting main content like the class main content. Um if we then select all images inside of main content, this won't affect our earth image. So we'll make this like 5 pixels just so that if it was selecting the earth image, we'd know right away. Oh my gosh. Um, but it's not. So we can come back and look at this. It should be way smaller. Oh. Oh, I wasn't even touching it for a while. Okay. Um, yeah. So when we change that, the earth image stays completely fine. And the plane is what's changed. I'm gonna make it before I had 80 pixels, so we'll just do um 80 pixels. Does anybody have another idea how we would change like the plane? So if I didn't want to do dot main content image, what's another way that I could target that plane and change the width? Is that its class name? You're probably right. Let me just double check. Yeah. So what we could do is we could add a class and we could call it plane. So if we add a class, call it plane, and then come back here, whoops, and we make the width 80 pixels. Let's actually make it like 800 so we know something changed. Um, Wonderful. So something changed. So we'll put it back to 80. This is good. So this is the problem that you brought up earlier. I have justify content um center and align items center. Why do you guys think that vertically I'm not getting the height that I was looking for? Do we have any like guesses as to what the issue is? And we can kind of cheat and use uh the let's see. Yeah, we can use the like selector tool within inspect to like see what is on our page. Um, but this is kind of like the answer right here. Position absolute kind of like is rendered almost like differently than the HTML itself. Like that just like slaps it wherever you tell it to go, and it's not like with the rest of the page. What you can see here is all of our HTML only takes up like the top third of our page. So your computer screen is like however many pixels deep. Um, but we can see here we have 764 pixels wide of HTML, but the container for the entire page or the body itself is only going down 246 pixels. Um, there's a ton of ways to fix that. Uh, a really easy one is, let's see, if is everything in main content? Yeah, it is. in main content, we could also say like the width is 100% and the height is 100%. And I think, oh, yeah. Let's see what happens if we do that. Does that change anything at all? No. I think the height needs to be 100 viewport heights, maybe. There we go. So what did that do? Uh, we just talked about some units. There's pixels. There are REM units, which I actually don't get that use that often. Something that is used somewhat often is the units. There's viewport width and viewport height. Um, actually, I kind of want that. So the unit viewport width is, so all of our laptops have different widths of pixels. That's actually probably not true, but like they are varying. So there's a unit that's like relative to the size of your screen. So viewport width, or it'll come up as VW, is the width of your screen. And that will always be 100. So 100 VW will always be the width of your screen. And 100 VH or viewport height units are going to be the height of your screen. If you're on a phone, 100 VWs is way different than if you're on a laptop. So I'd say like be a little bit careful with that. But what this is doing is it's saying, and if we take a look at again, to pull up this tool and do what I'm doing, which is really useful and I'd recommend it a lot, is I press F12. What you could also do is inspect by right finger clicking on the website, going to inspect. It'll pull this up. And what you can do is you can click in the top left of this like black bar that pulls up, this like arrow. And when you come back over to the page, you can see that like you can now start hovering over things and it'll tell you like the HTML that it is. We can see that the main content div is now the size of the entire screen, which means now when we center the content vertically and horizontally in that div, the div is large enough that vertically, when we center it, it's the center of the page because it's the size of the page. Does that kind of clear it up why it wasn't working before and why it's good now? There's a ton of ways to make a div the size of the page. What was the way that we had here? Oh, what this did is it literally just, another way you could have done this is instead of adding like a width and a height, you could literally just add a margin to the top of this that is like hard coded to put it exactly where it is. So all that's doing is it's like it's shoving like the content right now is here because it's just the height that it needs to be. It's just shoving it down like 200 pixels so that it like looks like it's in the right place. The issue is if someone has like a ThinkPad and it's like a really skinny screen and like long, that's not going to look good. So we can also do that. So margin top, we can say like 250 pixels, and we'll take a look at how that looks. That's also fine. We can see that the div now is just the blue, but there's now a margin between that div, the main content div, and the top of the screen. Um, yeah, it's all kind of up to the developer. At the end of the day, no one sees this stuff. They just see the actual website. So as long as it works, um, there's like 100 different ways to do anything. Yeah.
Why doesn't the flex direction do that? Do the centering for you?
Yeah. So without, uh, okay, cool. So flex direction is essentially just telling you,
Oh, not flex direction, I meant a line item.
oh yeah. So align items centers within the space that it has. Um, so the definition that it gives here is it aligns the items inside of it uh across the axis of the current line, flex container. Essentially, it just goes like, okay, cool, we have a flex container. We're gonna center everything uh inside of it. The issue that we were running into is if we look at it now, the flex container itself, which is what's in blue. So if we look, the container being the div, if we look at the blue, the height of it by default will be like the size of all of the things that are in it. And there's nothing else on the page. So this container is all that's in the page. And if we try to center it, um, it technically is centered vertically with the space that it has,
Yeah, it's just that.
but the entire page
space-
itself
The space it has, not the
is,
space.
yeah,
it
the
wants.
entire vertical height of the page is the height of the container. Even though we can see like the whole page and it goes to the bottom of our computer screens, that's not really how the HTML is being rendered. Any other questions before we move on? Yeah. Is this good? Cool. It's in the Slack as well, just in case you want to pull it up. Sick. Okay. I'm gonna just throw that margin top on it so that we have a margin of, let's put 250 pixels. If your screen's like not that tall, if you have a ThinkPad or anybody has one that's like not as tall as my laptop, go ahead and like you can modify that a little bit. Or you can do the viewport heights. Um, cool. Let's tackle the div with the input and the button now. They're not gonna do anything, but we can just play with it. So yeah. I'll quickly add one more thing that we can do. We played around with, you can have dot plane. You could also do dot main content image to do like a select first and then also select something else inside of it. What we can also do, I think, is we can go into the main content and we can like fully nest. So we could do a dot plane here. And we can make the width of the plane 80 pixels and it could be inside. So like that's very nested. And I think that should work. Let's see. Yeah, it does. Uh, and what you can also do is you could do images. So it's kind of like you can make a new selector, which is usually the standard, just because it's very clean to read it. So you would separate the main content, the stuff that's only being applied to main content, and the stuff that would be applied to main content image. But if for some reason, like readability wise, you like to just see everything that has to do with main content in the main content, you can do that as well. Um, just wanted to let y'all know that that exists because there's a lot of stuff in CSS. Okay, cool. Let's do, what's that class called? Inner. And what do we want to do to it? Well, how does it look now? Okay, cool. So the inner class, at least to me, it looks like it's really close to the text that's above it. So we can change that a bit. Um, let's add, just like before, we can add a margin to the top of it so it's spaced out from anything close to it. With like finer grain things, it's kind of hard to pick a good percent. So picking pixels is fine. So you can see it got farther away from the subheading, which is kind of nice. Uh, I think this is too low for my liking, so I'm gonna make this 225 so it comes back up a little bit. At least on my laptop, it looks better like that, I think. Let's actually go to 250. Cool. Um, okay, how do we make the input look good? There are a number of things we want to do to it. Um, but as we can see here, we're going to be targeting the input. Um, I gave you HTML with an ID. And as you can see by the highlighted part here, essentially we could give it a class and call it like main input so that any other inputs that we have will also receive the same styling. If you have a one-off, it's kind of easier just readability wise to add an ID. Um, for classes, we do a period. For tags like the image here, we just do the name of the tag. For ID, we're gonna do a hashtag. So we're gonna do that. And then I'm just gonna check what I had. So, okay. The search for a destination text inside of it is kind of like really close to the outside. So we can change that by adding some padding. And if we add padding, it's going to add it everywhere with this attribute. So if I wanted to only like add way more padding to the bottom than the left side, what we could do is we could do padding bottom. And that's going to be, let's say like 10 pixels. And if I do that, that's going to look really weird because I only added it to the bottom. So if you want super custom padding, you can do it to like all sides, and I can make like the left like 20 pixels now. And the padding right can be more as well. Um, and we'll say the top is gonna be like that. This is gonna look weird and like lopsided. I'm just gonna go back and do the normal padding does all sides. So I'm gonna do that. Cool. So now we can see there's like a little more space and it's like a bigger input. Um, what else do we want to do to this guy? We can fix its width just so that it's whatever we want it to be. Um, I have 300 pixels. We can also see that in this picture, the borders of the rectangle are not just like a flat edge, they are like curved. Uh, and the attribute that accomplishes this is the border radius um, attribute. So border radius, and then you can just play with the pixels. I'm gonna look at 3 pixels and see if I like that. A big mistake a lot of people make is they have way too curved border radius, like too curved corners on a lot of like their buttons or whatnot. Something cool is if you want like a pill button, you can kind of just like crank the radius. So if you make it, let's say like 100, now it turns into a pill. So like for instance, Spotify does this a ton. If for some reason you want a circle, that's also probably something you could do. Like the Spotify search bar, I guarantee is just a rectangle div that has just like a insane border radius, which makes it like pill shaped. Um, which is what you can see here. So if you crank the border radius, you can make a pill. I think I'm gonna go with 5 pixels here just because that's what I had in the demo. So we can see it already looks so much better. I can show you guys the plain HTML again. If we do that, this is what it started with. And just by adding some space and a little curve, um, it looks so much better already. What else do we want to do? Um, outline. Okay, we can touch the Z index if we want. Um, yeah. Okay, cool. So, ooh, something else that's here, is this like annoying black outline bar. That's like, I don't know. I feel like it's not super good. So what we can do is kind of like do our own. So I think if we outline none, oh, it did not do it. I thought it would. Shorthand property for outline style. Oh, weird. But we can change the border to be exactly what we want. Um, so in the demo that I had, I just have, what is CCC? Is that, oh, it's like a slightly off-white color. Um, okay. And that way, like the black was kind of harsh, and now this like a little more easily blends in with the background. Oh, this projector's really weird. The gray globe is like pink.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah, sorry about that. But hopefully on y'all's computers it'll look better than it does here. Uh, I can flash what it looked like before and then flash what it looks like now. Like the black is just like kind of harsh and it like just really has a huge contrast. Um, and if we show now what it looks like, it just kind of fits a little better. Um, cool. That is the main input button. Um, okay, cool. So that's like the text input. Uh, I think I figured out what that is. Okay. The outline attribute, when you're typing inside of it, is going to be like that highlight. So without the outline, um, when I select the input, you can see it like has that black highlighted again, which is again just not my favorite. And you can see as we type, it'll be black. You already see the cursor. I don't think you need that visual reminder. Um, So as much as possible for a lot of like elements, I like to just take off a lot of the default. Like especially with like links and stuff, I'll like take out the underline. Um, so here you can see when we select this, there's no longer an outline along the rectangle. Let's do the button next. Um, so how do we select it? Let's take a look. I think I gave you an ID, so it's main button. Um, hashtag main button, and we'll come here. And what did I have? It was purple, right? Y- Oh, maybe it wasn't. That's like a grayish purple kind of color, like kind of blue. Cool. So we can change the background color for the button just so it's whatever color we want it to be. I'm gonna do hashtag like this, and I'll show you guys. We talked about this a little bit Tuesday. you can kind of like customize what color you're picking. If you click on, like, if you pick any color with a hex code, you'll see like the square pops up that I clicked on there. And you can kind of like just use this color picker to choose something. Let's see how that looks. Cool. The text itself, we want it to be white. Um, so I think that's just the color attribute. So let's see how that looks now. Cool. The size of the button is kind of like weird. And another thing that's not satisfying is, do you guys notice when you hover over the button, the pointer doesn't change? Like we just keep the regular mouse. That's something we can change with CSS. It is the pointer, I think. Oh, cursor, sorry. Um, so we can change the pointer or the cursor to be whatever we want it to be whenever we're hovering over the button. Um, there's a bunch of them. I think if this might be the hourglass. Oh no, this is the like the progress one. I bet on Mac it'll look a little different. Um, but if you do pointer, they'll be the ones that you're familiar with. So we can do pointer, which should, yeah. So now it actually looks like how it should, when you're over a button. And you can see it does that by default with anywhere you can type. So we don't have to worry about that. But with every button for any HTML and CSS that you write by scratch, you do have to change the pointer. That's something that people usually just quickly write for a class so that all buttons will have that. But we'll go over that later. Oh, and I'm actually over time. So I can send the rest of the code. Uh, but this is kind of just how we go about things. You go one by one. Um, and little by little, like you chip away at kind of building a website. We were pretty close. I think if you copy the main button, and you put it in your CSS, you'll see like it now looks like what we wanted it to look like. And with that, I'll let you guys go. But this is just a little bit of how you'd use CSS to make something look decent. We'll do better later, but I think for that, if there's any questions, please fire. But otherwise, have a good weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I hope I can get that up here, man.
sure.
I don't love stuff under main button.
Yeah, buttons people typically go crazy for. Uh, like,
Wait, where did cursor pointers go?
I might have gotten rid of it when yeah, I don't have it right here. But you can just add it back. It's kind of all subjective. Um, yeah. What else? As a little bonus for anybody, it's going to be in what's in the Slack, but you can also change how something looks when you hover over it. Um, so the way that you do that is you target and then you do the hover. And what we can do is we can kind of change like the back, like whatever you want. It'll switch to the next thing. So when you're hovering, we can like make it fade in a little bit, or we can like change the size. Um, let's see. Width, we can make I don't know, like 95% or whatever. Oh, no, no. Um, I'm sure you're just gonna have chat do this. I haven't written CSS in so long. Okay, that's transform. But you can see like it'll make it a little smaller or whatever you want it to be. These can get way cleaner, but yeah, that's just like something that's a little Easter egg. You have a question? Yeah.
Project soup, about like getting in the team.
Oh yeah, were you the one that slacked me?
Yeah,
Okay,
but
cool.
the thing is, I was thinking like, because I'm doing like this job and I'm also doing analytics
Yeah,
and I do have like an internship.
nice.
So I'm
So you're a
kind of
little
like
busy, yeah.
busy, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking maybe I can like get into the team like maybe next semester.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it'll be running. Are you a junior?
Junior, yeah.
Cool.
I'm a transfer student.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. That's completely fine whenever you're comfortable. I
Yeah.
don't want you to like overload yourself.
Yeah, that's the thing because
Yeah. You'll be able to join a team next semester, and this way you can just chill out and do the boot camp.
Okay.
Awesome.
yeah,
All
no
right.
problem.
Well,
See
good
you
luck
around.
with all your commitments. Yeah.